First, the good news. Jared Mike, one of the most astute, if bearish, of market strategists, has significantly dialed down his odds of an Australian recession next year. The bad news: Australia seems set for another year of desultory growth, avoiding a statistical recession but experiencing per capita pain, Mr. Mike said. However, that is positively upbeat compared to his half-year report card on the Australian economy. 6 months ago I was very gloomy about the outlook for Australia in 2018, he said. My base case was weak growth, but I saw a 1 in 3 chance of recession, and almost no upside risk. Mr. Mike said the recession risk was now, probably no higher than 20%. Mr. Mike made his name as one of Wall Street's leading strategists with the big investment bank Morgan Stanley, before setting up shop in Sydney with his own eponymous, boutique advisory business, Mike Advisors. He famously predicted Wall Street and ASX were well primed to halve in value well before the GFC broke in late 2007. Mr. Mike argued on one hand a fading housing sector and weak wages remained headwinds to the economy, while improved corporate sentiment may mean things turn out better than expected. But the most likely outcome is unchanged monetary policy, moderate Australian dollar declines and domestic equities continuing to lag global markets, he said. The negatives, the positives. The wild card for the recession scenario is a steeper than expected fall in house prices. The big, double-barreled uncertainty, however, is wealth effects, both how far house prices fall, and how any fall will affect household saving, Mr. Mike said. I expect single-digit house price declines next year, but it's not clear how such a wealth setback will affect saving. The other buffer against a shrinking economy is Australia's solid population growth. It's difficult to have a statistical recession when population growth is running at 1.5 to -1.75%, even if trend per capita income growth is weaker now than the period that included the 1990s recession. Just how much things have turned around since Mr. Mike's gloomier view 6 months ago is likely to be reflected in the federal government's mid-year fiscal and economic outlook, MIFO. The punditry suggests the deficit should narrow from the $29.4 billion forecast in the May budget to around $26 billion. The improvement can be attributed to a generally stronger than expected global economy driving stronger commodity prices and a windfall from corporate tax receipts, while better than forecast unemployment results should keep a lid on welfare payments. Operating in the opposite direction are slower wage growth and consumption dragging Treasury revenues down. A roughly 10% narrowing in the projected deficit this year should provide a platform for Treasurer Scott Morrison to remain upbeat in his promise to deliver a surplus, or at least a balanced budget, by 2021. UBS chief economist George Tharrow said the strongest starting point suggests the cumulative deficits, over the forecast profile of the 4 years to 2020/21, could also be better by around $10 billion. Mr. Tharrow is not so bullish on Mr. Morrison's plans to slash government debt.